To everyone we've shown the 𝐀𝐢n, the immediate question is that a Nintendo Switch? It is not, but lots of what makes the Nintendo Switch Lite so appealing, at least in terms of industrial design, is not only present here, but improved upon ergonomically. Measuring 224mm and 95mm and 15mm, all models make use of a responsive 6-inch 1080p touchscreen. Encased in a shell very much like the Nintendo Switch Lite, there are also 2 additional buttons that sit where your fingers would grip the device. Presumably the plan is for a firmware update that will let you configure these as hotkeys, but at present we've found no use for them. A power button sits on the top edge, alongside a volume rocker. The 𝐀𝐢n Base and Pro editions are similar, both based on a modified build of Android 10. They share a processor in the Qualcomm Snapdragon 845 chipset, backed with an Adreno 630. It's the same processor you'll find in a Google Pixel 3, Razer Phone 2 or Samsung Galaxy S9, an older chipset, but one still with bundles of power, and whose limitations will rarely be troubled by what the 𝐀𝐢n uses them to focus on. And while the internal similarities to a phone are apparent, don't go expecting to make calls with the 𝐀𝐢n. There's no cellular connectivity here, nor camera. But there's a gyroscopic sensor, surprisingly handy for those rare gaming apps that support it. The main differences between the Base and the Pro sit with storage size, RAM and battery capacities. The Base has 4GB of LPDDR4X RAM, while the Pro has 8GB. The Base has 64GB of internal storage, while the Pro has 128GB. The Base has a 5000 mAh battery, the Pro has a 6000 mAh battery. While the 8GB RAM upgrade may open up some more complex emulation tasks and make the interface a little snappier, and the battery capacity eke out a couple more hours of gaming, the overall experience between the Pro and Base will be largely identical. Even the storage limitations can be leveled out by adding a microSD card to each. The 𝐀𝐢n Lite is significantly different, however, as its lower pricing suggests. It has a weaker chipset in the shape of the MediaTek Dimensity D900, backed by a Mali G68MC4 GPU, comes with 4GB of RAM as standard, 64GB of storage and a 5000 mAh battery. But in some interesting areas its spec sheet is more advanced than the Base and Pro. It's running Android 11 for starters, offers Wi-Fi 6, and has Bluetooth 5.2. The Base and Pro, as mentioned, are for now stuck on Android 10, with older generations of the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth standards. While we've not been able to test the Lite for ourselves, there's the potential for the Lite to be the better device when it comes to game streaming. You'll also find lots of ventilation on the 𝐀𝐢n devices, with an intake grill on the rear and output vents on the top, in service of a physical fan that supports the passive cooling of the chip. It's unintrusive and not noisy, but does well to boost the overhead limit of the chipset.